Many of you are helping new immigrants and want to know about the resources available. We are fortunate we have a wealth of legal resources available from many, many organizations, and all these organizations are here today. They are part of this panel today to talk about their resources. It's my pleasure to welcome all these organizations. I have Kathryn McCart from People's Law School. Andrew Sakamoto, TRAC, Tenant Resource Advisory Center. Veenu Saini, Law Foundation of BC. Desi Courthouse Libraries of BC. Danielle, Legal Services Society, PLC. Parents Legal Center. And Taruna Agrawal, Rise Women's Legal Center. So we'll start with Kathryn McCart, People's Law School, and they all will follow. After Kathryn is Andrew, and followed by Heather from Access Pro Bono.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for having me here today. I'm really pleased to give an update on all our resources. Probably some of you don't know about People's Law School. We are a nonprofit society serving British Columbia, and we help people work out life's legal problems. We provide plain language information and education on the law, and we were founded in 1972 as the first dedicated public legal education and information organization in Canada. We were actually funded by a group of UBC law students who thought that the public should know more about laws in British Columbia. So our focus is on everyday legal problems. And our approach is using plain language to empower people to take action. So if you take a look at the chart that's up on the screen, this is research that was done by the Department of Justice on the legal problems of everyday life. And you can see that 2/3 of people take no action or handle their own legal problem. So our website highlights practical tools and steps that people can take and tools that they can use to deal with their legal problems. We have a lot of print publications, and I brought some of them today. They're in the table up at the front. So if we run out, you can always order them through Crown Publications. We've updated quite a few of them, and Work in the Law, When I'm 64, Benefits for Older Adults, and several of our other popular titles were updated this year and last. And we actually have 20 titles in print for ordering from Crown Publications. And I actually brought ordering instructions. They're at the front there, because I'm sure that by the end of the day, all those publications will be gone. We also have 15 titles in full text on ClickLaw Wikibooks. We have print publications because not everyone has a computer and not everybody knows how to actually use a computer. So we get a lot of walk-in people in our office, and it's surprising how many people don't have computers at home. In-person learning in communities. We hold classes in libraries throughout the province, and also in community organizations. So if you have a group of people that are interested in a particular legal topic, we have volunteer lawyers that go out and they will teach the topic to people. So the most popular topics that are in the libraries right now seem to be all, I call them the baby boomer topics. So it's like wills and estates and power of attorney and probating a will. We get lots of requests from libraries on that. Community organizations will quite often ask for a speaker on something like immigration law or working in BC. Family law topics are pretty popular. So we do our best to find a lawyer that will go out. There's no cost for this service. Strata law is getting really popular also, so we send a lot of strata law lawyers to libraries for that. We have a new website, well, relatively new. It's been up for about 2 years now. And our website focuses on everyday legal problems that people have. So this is actually the home page of our website, and you can see it's broken down into consumer, home and neighbors, money and debt, wills, planning and estates, and work. So it's very understandable, it's in plain language, it's easy to use, and we provide practical step-by-step guidance and templates and tips for people. So you can go into all these different sections, and it's expanded into lots of information. So let's take a look at that. This is another chart that was done by the Department of Justice on the legal problems of everyday life. And the legal problems that affect most people are, in that order, consumer and debt. If you live in Vancouver, that's pretty obvious. Debt is probably, something that everybody's dealing with the prices here. But work, civil liberties, and it goes down the line. So we have a lot of information on our website on these particular topics, and we've expanded the coverage last year. So as I was saying, our website is in plain language. There's no legalese. It's very easy to understand. So this is a page from the work section of our website. And we have interactive images. So you can go into a page, and this particular one, this worker was saying, I was hired 2 weeks before Christmas and my boss didn't pay me for the statutory holiday. Is this legal? So you can test your knowledge by clicking yes or no. Do I have any takers here? Yes? No? 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 Okay, actually the answer is no. So you have to be employed. When you press no, it'll come up to say you have to be employed 30 days before you are paid for a statutory holiday. So everybody here seems to be pretty smart. So then you can go into the different sections and it accordion outs, so that you have more information on all the different topics. So, as I was saying, we have step-by-step guidance and tools that help people understand options. And then we have tools such as downloaded templates and letters that help people take action. So how many times have you, had a legal problem? You're like, I'm going to write them. And then you're like, well, what will I write? So we actually have template letters that will help you do that. And we've got on the consumer page, we have letters like loan demand letters, letters to make a debt settlement offer to creditors, loan agreements, which are great for family and friends, loan demands. This particular section here is on disputing a phone bill. We have a whole section on cellular phones in the consumer area. Because I'm sure everybody's got a cell phone, or most people do, and there's information on the contracts and little things that come up, like this particular question, what are my rights? My phone bill included $500 in data roaming charges while I was traveling overseas. Can they do that? Yes or no? Yes, okay. Actually, the answer is no. The provider must limit data roaming charges to $100 within a single billing period unless you explicitly agree to add more charges. So there's lots of really practical information on our website. This is just a small section of it. And there's letters on this area to dispute phone bills and complain about faulty or damaged goods, all sorts of really good practical information for people. So we share the information that we have on our website. So if you work for organizations that have a website, you can embed information from our website and put it on yours. Anyways, we'll go into the embedding. The advantages are that you can get free content, and it's updated regularly. So when we update our website, your website, the information that you've embedded, that's going to be updated also. And it's really easy to set up. And you can just go to our website /embed, and it shows you how to embed the information on your website. So new in 2018, we have the Consumer and Debt Law book, which is now a ClickLaw wiki book. And this used to be published for over 20 years by Legal Services Society. It is now published by us. And it's a good resource for advocates and others. It's now a wiki book and fully updated. So you can go to wiki clicklawbc.ca to see that. And also new in 2019, People's Law School is now operating Dial-A-Law. So you can just phone in and there is information on tapes on over 130 topic areas. We've got a new website. There's both a toll-free number and a number for the Lower Mainland. So you can go into that and get lots of information on different areas of the law. So that is it for our update, and thank you so much.
So thank you for having me, and Access Pro Bono got a little bit of an introduction right before we all came on stage, and so I understand many of you are probably already familiar with a lot of our services, but Access Pro Bono is a nonprofit society that was incorporated in 2010 to carry on the work of two organizations that facilitated pro bono legal services across BC called Access Justice and Pro Bono Law BC, so Access Pro Bono. And our organization matches individuals and nonprofit organizations of limited means with volunteer lawyers who have agreed to take on and provide legal services on a pro bono or free basis across BC. So we have a number of rosters of lawyers who have agreed to provide their services free of charge. And we also have a number of kind social services organizations that have generously provided their facilities, most specifically for our summary legal advice clinics, where people may come and consult with a lawyer, usually for around half an hour, at a social service center within the community. Access Pro Bono's vision is a justice system in which having limited means is not a barrier to obtaining quality legal services. And Access Pro Bono's mission is to promote access to justice in BC by providing and fostering quality pro bono legal services for people and nonprofit organizations of limited means. Now, we offer a number of different programs for folks of limited means who have legal issues, and I'm going to get into some of these in more depth in the course of my talk, but primarily our services are our summary legal advice clinics, our roster programs, and there are a number of these, our Civil Chambers Duty Council program, which is based out of the Vancouver Courthouse Library, and this is for folks who have urgent or pending civil legal issues. We have a number of duty counsel who come and volunteer and can either appear in court or assist folks in drafting materials for civil legal issues that are urgent. We have our paralegal program, where we've recruited a number of paralegals across the province to assist folks in drafting legal materials. Our Wills Clinic program, which is also based out of the Vancouver Courthouse, and our refugee program. And finally, our residential tenancy and employment standards programs. The program that many of you might be most familiar with is our Summary Legal Advice Clinic program. And this program is for clients who call our intake line and set up 30-minute appointments to speak with a lawyer in a specific legal area. Once a client or someone on behalf of a client has called our intake line, they'll be set up with a 30-minute appointment with a lawyer. These appointments are with qualified lawyers, and we do our very best to match people's legal issues up with lawyers who have expertise in that area. And these Meetings are bound by the strictest rules of lawyer-client confidence. We can schedule clients with follow-up meetings if necessary. And so I know of some clients who can't afford a lawyer. We can't find them a lawyer through our roster program, but go to 7 or 8 clinic appointments and can really kind of get teed up for the entire court process just through 30-minute appointments. It's not ideal, but it's better than nothing. And lawyers do their best to provide their clients with written advice. So there's a sheet that they'll fill out through the course of the appointment where they'll give the client essentially a prescription of what their legal advice is coming from the appointment so that the client has something to take with them in case, everything went too fast and they have trouble explaining it to the next person they have to deal with on their issue. Our lawyers for our summary legal advice clinics do not go to court with clients, and they do not take their clients on in a full representation capacity, though there have been situations where a lawyer is compelled by a specific issue and then will transfer to our roster program and then take a client on in a more full capacity. But in the half-hour appointment, they can assist a client in preparing for court, and this can range from anything from reviewing drafted materials to explaining the rules of evidence to trying to identify what needs to be said in an upcoming application or court hearing. We have a means test to identify people's eligibility for our program, for our summary legal advice clinic program, and this means test is applicable across a number of our other programs as well. There's no equity or asset test, so to be eligible for a clinic appointment, a client's gross monthly household income must be below $5,000 Canadian for a 1 to 3 person household, or $7,000 for a 4 or more person household. So we try and be somewhat flexible in our financial eligibility criteria, and we typically try not to take on clients that are eligible for a legal aid lawyer. And so we're trying to fill the gap between folks who are covered by legal aid and then folks who have the funds to hire their own lawyer. The clinic process is pretty self-explanatory. A client will call our client line. One of our trained client call volunteers will book them an appointment with a qualified lawyer, or if they have an issue that our services cannot assist with, then they'll provide them with alternative legal resources. And this could be a referral to legal aid, a referral to public legal education, etc. And then finally, the client will be set up with an appointment at a legal clinic across the province. And our client line is displayed here. You can call the 604 number if you're based in Vancouver, but you can also call the 1-877 number, or you can simply email us at help@accessprobono.ca. And we really do respond to every call and email, so someone is there to listen. Relevant to this specific conference, there are specific clinics for immigrants and refugees that are based out of Immigrant Services Society of BC, The Gathering Place, Mosaic, and then there's some specific immigration and refugee clinics out that are held out of the courthouse and out of Success, Coquitlam. However, immigrants and refugees may also just call the client line and may just be booked into a regular appointment. And so we certainly have services for people with specific immigration and refugee issues, but immigrants and refugees don't just have immigration and refugee issues. They also might have, poverty law issues or family law issues. And so our lawyers will do our best to find a lawyer that meets their specific needs. The next program I'm going to talk about is our roster programs, and this is These are programs that are for clients who need more than 30 minutes of summary legal advice. And so sometimes when someone has gone to a summary legal advice clinic appointment, it becomes very clear to the client and the lawyer that they need something more. And so that's when they can be referred to our roster programs. We have our barristers roster, which is kind of our catch-all roster. And so when I say roster, I mean our roster programs are a series of mailing lists of lawyers who've agreed to be on call to potentially take on clients in a more full representation capacity. And so I'm our roster program manager, and when I get a referral of a client who needs more full representation services, I will do a financial eligibility and merit assessment, and then send that opportunity out to this roster of lawyers. And if a lawyer is interested and available, they'll get back to me, and then I will match the client up with the lawyer for more full representation services. So our barristers roster, we take on clients with legal issues, really of any sort, including civil, criminal, or administrative law. And the only issues we don't take on are full-on provincial court or Supreme Court trials, but we will take on clients who have specific issues in provincial or Supreme Court. They say they have an application they need assistance or representation at. We will send those opportunities out on our roster. Our family law program, we will send clients with family law issues, we will send those opportunities out to our roster of family law lawyers to try and assist pairing folks who have family law issues up with a lawyer. Our refugee program matches and supports volunteer lawyers with British Columbians seeking to sponsor one or more refugees from Syria, Iraq, or elsewhere. And so this is really a roster to pair lawyers up with sponsors. We have a wills and estates program, which has been fairly active lately. So folks who don't have a will or need other services in terms of advanced planning, we can send them out on our roster, and lawyers have been known to travel to hospitals and to people's homes and to palliative care service centers to provide these services to clients. And then we have our solicitors program, where volunteer lawyers provide legal advice and assistance to community organizations in all areas of nonprofit law. Our next program is our residential tenancy program, and this is a program where lawyers and law students will provide legal representation to low-income tenants and qualifying landlords who have an issue that comes under the Residential Tenancy Act. And so we'll serve folks who are facing evictions, illegal rent increases, security deposit issues, requests for repairs, and some monetary awards. Representation is BC-wide but cannot be guaranteed. And like with our roster programs, unfortunately, because all of our volunteers are providing their services on a volunteer basis, we can't guarantee that we'll be able to match every client up with a lawyer or student. But services are BC-wide. And this is the contact information to get in touch with our residential tenancy program. We also have an employment standards program that provides legal representation to low-income employees who have an issue that can be heard by the employment standards branch, common issues being termination pay, vacation pay, and overtime. Again, representation is BC-wide but cannot be guaranteed. And contact information for our employment standards program is here. We also have a number of new programs, including our medical legal partnership program, where we've paired up with social workers and other hospital employee staff at palliative care facilities to provide legal services to people who are facing end-of-life issues. We also have a Court of Appeal program where we have agreed to provide some degree of legal services to every self-represented litigant who files with the Court of Appeal. We have a number of new clinics, not so new, within the last 2 years. And one that I did not mention here was our Homeless Connections ID clinic program, where volunteers assist folks who have no identification with obtaining some. And another program that I failed to mention in my PowerPoint is our Islamophobia hotline. And this is a province-wide telephone service for people who've been discriminated because they're discriminated against because they are Muslim. And this is the product of a consortium of social justice and anti-racist groups across BC, and Access Pro Bono manages the hotline. And so if you or someone you know has experienced Islamophobia, you can call that number and we will try and pair that person up with a lawyer to explore their options. Now, I don't have the phone number up here, but I'll try and circulate it after the fact. And so, to close, if you have any questions about our programs or services, you can contact me. My direct line is there, or my line with an extension is there. And then if you have specific questions about the summary legal advice clinics, my colleague Frank is a good person to contact. So thank you very much.
So my name is Andrew Sakamoto. I'm the ED of the Tenant Resource and Advisory Center, TRAC. People heard of TRAC out there? Yes? Good. So unlike some other groups here who represent a range of different areas of law, TRAC focuses exclusively on one area, that being residential tenancy law or tenant-landlord law. So we were founded back in 1984, and we exist to promote the legal protection of residential tenants all across BC by providing information, education, support, and research on all things residential tenancy law. So I've been given 10 minutes to provide a rundown of our services here, so I apologize if I'm rushing a little bit. There's a quick list of the services we can offer. So we'll go through them one by one now. So first up is our direct advocacy program. So similar to what Heather was just talking about in terms of their residential tenancy program, TRAC offers free representation to tenants all across BC. So we have a practicing lawyer, Susanna Modrovic, who can take on clients and negotiate settlements with landlords, provide legal advice, and if necessary, represent clients at dispute resolution hearings through the residential tenancy branch. So that's essentially BC's tenant and landlord court. In terms of eligibility, we tend to take on group applications. So for instance, a building of seniors being rent evicted or who have been given an illegal rent increase. However, we can also take individual cases if we consider the client's situation to be either serious or systemic. So we really do have some flexibility there. But those are generally the types of cases we take on. There is no income cutoff, but priority is always given to lower income tenants. Tenant info line. So this is one of our most popular and longest standing services. It's a Monday to Friday phone service. The hours of operation are a little confusing. Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, they run 1 to 5 p.m. in the afternoon. And then on Wednesdays, we have an evening shift. So from 5:30 to 8:30 p.m., just to give people a different option of when they want to call in. We answer approximately 7,000 calls per year. There's a list of some of the more common issues we hear about. Eviction and repairs are always the most asked about questions year after year. So yeah, if any of you or your clients ever need answers to your legal questions around rights and responsibilities of tenants and landlords, please feel free to give us a call on our tenant info line. Legal workshops. So we go out into the community and deliver in-person workshops. We also deliver webinars. It's something we're trying to grow, but we do offer online webinars to fulfill our mandate of being a provincial organization. We try to deliver webinars across the province to more rural areas of BC. But if any of you are interested in scheduling a workshop on sort of residential tenancy law 101 or even a specific area of the law, such as evictions, repairs, quiet enjoyment, dispute resolution. We have some options there. So we tend to give out we tend to deliver our standard presentation more often than not, but we can also deliver those more tailored workshops on certain key areas. So if any of you and your coworkers or your clients could benefit from such a workshop, again, please feel free to reach out to us, and we can provide that service for free. We tend to deliver these workshops to seniors, youth, new immigrants. There might be a problem building where a landlord has, again, tried to wrong sort of a group in the building, and they want some more information. And of course, advocates and service providers. This isn't just a service for tenants, particularly disadvantaged tenants. It's also a service for the advocates and service providers, such as yourselves, who serve those clients. Publications. So this is kind of new and exciting. Hopefully, most of you have heard about this. Unlike some other groups here who have a range of publications, track focuses. We pretty much have one major publication. It's called the Tenant Survival Guide. It's been published since 1984, since we were founded, and it's still going strong. Thanks to the Law Foundation of BC, we recently reprinted 10,500 copies, and I'd say that was back in January that we finalized the reprint and started distribution, and we're already through at least half of those. So if any of you are interested in ordering copies of the publication in bulk for your organizations, you can do so through Crown Publications, again for free. The URL is there. You can also just Google Tenant Survival Guide Crown Publications and it should come up. But again, you can order bulk copies for free through that website there. So that's just a quick screenshot of TRAC's website. Hopefully most of you have been there. A comprehensive overview of everything you need to know as a tenant. Tons of information. We thought about the best way to organize content and settled on sort of chronological. So it's all grouped into sort of starting a tenancy, what you need to know, during your tenancy, what you need to know, and then sort of ending your tenancy. So eviction or moving out, everything you need to know. So that's sort of the general way we've organized content on our website. Also, all of our publications, our Tenant Survival Guide, we offer template letters through our website. So again, that was something that was mentioned earlier, but we have a series of template letters on various topics that tenants can send to their landlord to sort of create a paper trail of what's happening with their tenancy. So I encourage you to use those as a starting point, and again, create a paper trail as part of your tenancy. Very important if you ever need to sort of go to dispute resolution in front of an arbitrator. And the final resource I wanted to touch on is our online course called Renting It Right. So we currently have two separate parts of this course. Part one deals with finding rental housing and securing a tenancy. So things like how to search for housing, how to, what questions to ask at a viewing, how to run a credit report on yourself, how to gather references, and then some more legal information on things you need to know when entering into a tenancy. So, info around security deposits, condition inspection reports, the key terms in a tenancy agreement. So that's all covered in part one of the course. Again, sort of finding rental housing and safely entering into a tenancy. Part two of the course deals more with the fundamentals of residential tenancy law, everything you need to know during your tenancy: repairs, evictions, quiet enjoyment, deposits, rent increases, guests, fees, bed bugs, dispute resolution, etc. The idea is you work your way through a series of videos and exercises and ultimately reach a final exam. So there is a certification component with this course. In my experience as a renter, when I've told a potential landlord what I do for work, it doesn't always go over well. So we didn't want this course certificate to be something that was viewed as a negative when, say, a first-time renter was applying for housing. So because of that, we had Landlord BC, who's the province's leading landlord organization, review all of the content, and they endorse the course. So right on the certificate, it says, this has been reviewed by a landlord group, and all of the content is fair, and we encourage you as a landlord to consider this a good thing. That's the idea. You work your way through the course, and particularly for first-time renters or for, say, a new immigrant who may not have any references, this is a way to show that you've gone out of your way to educate yourself on what it means to be a good tenant. And we hope that as the course continues to grow, that this certificate will hold some weight when applying for housing. I just quickly want to note that again, we have Part 1 and Part 2 currently launched and up and running. We're hoping to develop a Part 3 for individuals such as yourselves. Part 3 would focus more on dispute resolution. So again, this is BC's tenant landlord court, essentially. So if any of you out there represent clients at those tribunal hearings, that's the audience we want to target as part of Part 3. So we're still trying to secure some funding for that, but that's hopefully on the horizon. A Part 3 dedicated to advocates and service providers, like everyone here in the room, who might be representing clients at dispute resolution. That's it for me. There's our contact information. Actually, you'll notice the 604-255-3099 number. That's TRAC's administrative line. That's the one where you can call and pick someone's extension number to speak to either myself or one of our advocates directly. So I mentioned earlier we have our tenant info line that only has certain hours, and you may have to wait on hold. That's how you can reach us directly. We always like to give advocates that direct line in case any of you have more urgent matters and questions that we can help answer for you. So yeah, that should do it. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Hello, everyone. My name is Veenu, and I'm here speaking on behalf of the Law Foundation of British Columbia. This is a good time to be talking about the Law Foundation because it's our 50th anniversary year. The foundation was created in 1969. We were the first foundation in North America that was created to receive and distribute the interest on lawyers' pool trust accounts. Just to give you a sense of how much money we're talking about, in the last 50 years, the foundation has made grants totaling just under $600 million. So we are a provincial body. We were created by legislation. And as I said, we were the first one. And since our inception, there are foundations or similar structures in all jurisdictions in North America, so in the United States and Canada both. So the foundation has a board of 18. And the board members come from around the province, and a staff of 12 currently. And we have a mandate that includes 5 areas. And you would have, or your organizations would have come in contact with majority of the organizations that fall within that in some way or the other. So these are legal aid, legal education. Those are the 2 areas that often people come in contact with in their frontline work. And then there are other ones, including legal law libraries, which we have a representative here from there. We fund legal research and law reform. So legal aid being the largest area, just over 60% of the Law Foundation's funding goes towards legal aid, and legal aid is defined broadly by the foundation. So it includes our largest grantee, which is Legal Services Society, and then it also includes things such as community advocates that are funded by the foundation. And these are advocates that are supervised by by lawyers in the communities and provide frontline services in various areas. There are 2 main categories of these, and you might have come in contact with them. There's the poverty law advocates that help people with their income assistance, housing, CPP, disability, those kind of applications. And then there's the family law advocates who are helping people with their family law problems. So it's also a good time to be talking about the foundation because after about 10 years of tightening our belts, we are in a fortunate circumstance of having increase in our income. So, whereas our income in the last few years have been about $17 million, and that's roughly what we made in grants. Last year, we were able to increase just about all of our grants. So we made grants in the amount of $33 million. And this was in part because of the balances that the pool trust accounts are fairly high, and also there's been a couple of increases in interest rates, as you would know. So that benefits the foundation in terms of its income. It may not benefit you individually if you are carrying any debt load. So it's also helpful for the funded groups because just about everybody got an increase last year who was funded on an ongoing basis. So majority of the foundation's income goes towards continuing programs. These are the programs that have been funded for a number of years. They still apply each year and are assessed, but generally there's an understanding that they'll continue to provide services and continue to be funded by the foundation unless there's some major issues. Approximately 5% of the money goes towards funding projects. These are time-limited things that we fund each year, and that is to make sure that we're able to fund innovation and sort of emerging needs that are not ongoing in nature. So in high income year, we may tend to not only increase our continuing programs, but also provide more time limited project funding as well. So if you or your organization has ideas about how to serve your clients better by creating some new programs or projects, you can talk to me or one of my colleagues by calling the Law Foundation. And also we have a major projects initiative. This is for projects that could be multi-year in nature. They could be anywhere from $250,000 to up to $1 million. So the foundation is hoping to fund impactful projects that that are transformational in nature. So more than producing publications or holding workshops, we're talking about things that can make major changes to the system for your clients. So please talk to us if you have ideas like that. So it's myself, and I'll be around after this later on this morning, in case you have any questions about any of that. The foundation has also increased. So we fund about 115 programs now. These are advocacy programs. Including advocacy programs. So we've expanded in two main areas that would be of interest to you. One is poverty law. So far, the foundation, until a couple of years back, we're funding poverty law advocacy in just about every community that has a population of 10,000 people. We've expanded that to add some new communities where we knew the communities are smaller, but there is a need in the areas of poverty law. And similarly, we have expanded our network of family law advocates. We had 6 or so programs, and now we are up to 26 programs. And again, these are in the Lower Mainland and also in smaller communities outside of the Lower Mainland. Our annual report is going to be up on our website in a couple of days, probably in about a week's time, and you'll see where all these locations are. And you can also find the locations on our website and also on PavNet's website. There are a couple of other programs that I want to talk to you about. We've also expanded in the area of mental health advocacy, and this is law-related issues that people with mental health, often self-identified, might be encountering. And so those are at Kettle, and they're mostly in the downtown east side, at Kettle and and First United. And then Heather used to work with me. And we've also expanded a couple of positions in immigration area. So these are immigration advocates. There's been one at Mosaic. We're adding to ISS and Kinbrace. So ISS, I'm sure you're familiar with. Kinbrace is a smaller agency that provides assistance to refugees. In addition to funding these kind of services, we also have support for advocates. So, this is something that might be of interest to you. There are a couple of positions. There are 2 lawyers. One is here, Taruna, who will be talking about her work with family law advocacy, and there's another one at class. It's called Community Advocates Support Line. So these are lawyers that are available in case you have questions about either poverty law or family law. You can contact them, and they'll be able to answer your questions. We also do training often we do our own training and also with Legal Services Society, so that people providing legal services have the most current information so that they can help their clients the best they can. There are a few public interest organizations we fund as well, which you may have come in contact with in your day-to-day work. These are the organizations that deal with systemic issues that may come up in your work. So there's West Coast Leaf, there is BC Civil Liberties Association, there's CLASS, and BC PIAC, and then we fund some environmental groups. So those are the kind of, that's sort of the breadth of our work. There's also the public legal education organizations. Now we just spoke about a couple of those. These are the organizations that either provide workshops or do publications and things like that. So check out our website, and you may be able to find the resource you're looking for there. If not, you can contact either myself or one of my colleagues or one of the panel members here. There's a wealth of information right here at your hand, in front of you. Well, thank you very much.
Hi, my name is Danielle VanderEnde. I'm one of 2 lawyers who work at the Surrey Parents Legal Center, and which is a legal aid initiative. So I know we don't have much time, and there's lots of great questions I'm sure you all have for the 6 people who presented, so I'm going to try and be really succinct. But if you have any other questions, I'll be around after, but also we have publications, and feel free to take our card and call and ask that, and I'm happy to answer any questions or have meetings with you to talk about our program more, okay? So what is the Parents Legal Center? So we are a child protection clinic that helps parents who have court matters or who have child protection matters in Surrey, Delta, Langley, and White Rock. There are also offices of the Parents Legal Center in Vancouver, Williams Lake, Kamloops, Duncan, Victoria, Campbell River, Prince George, Smithers. So for those who might serve communities in those areas, and I may have missed one, so please check the website if you need, a similar program exists in those communities. So what we do, what is unique about us, it's a new model in child protection services where our hope is to get kids home with families and stay with families quicker and to avoid the child protection process and avoid court and have things be less disruptive as much as we can, and to empower parents through that process and just provide better services, because I'm sure as you've all had clients who've gone through matters with the ministry, it is very traumatic, if not the most traumatic thing that they're ever going to go to, when a social worker is showing up asking questions and people don't know what's going on, people don't know the implications, you're fearing the worst case scenario, and it's really overwhelming. So it's a way that legal aid and legal services is trying to envision other ways of supporting parents and supporting families through this. So our focus, but it's not all that we do, is on trying to get involved as early as we can. So it's an early intervention model that works to address concerns before matters escalate and attempts to achieve alternative solutions that maintain families as much as possible. And what I mean by early intervention is often parents don't get connected to lawyers until their matter is in court, if it ever goes to court. But our model is that if anyone has any contact with a social worker, we can work with you. So we do that through being connected to the communities that we serve in the Surrey, Langley, White Rock area, as well as we run clinics in a lot of community areas to try and get people who may not initially think of calling us and then trying to help them and support them wherever they're at. And the other thing that's unique about our office is we have lawyers, but we also have advocates. And so our office has two, one who supports our Indigenous clients and one who supports our non-Indigenous clients. And their job is to attend meetings with clients, help clients get connected to resources. If the client needs to go to a doctor to get a referral for something but is really overwhelmed by that process, we'll go to that meeting with them. If the client needs help applying to a transition center to go to rehab, all of these things we can help them with. So it's not sort of like they're coming, the social worker saying, you need to do A, B, C, D, and then the parent is left alone. So it's trying to sort of embrace people where they are and support them in whatever they need to do moving forward. So our approach is collaborative. So we work with the ministry. I think that doesn't mean we agree with what the ministry says, but I think in our model, it's good to know what the ministry is concerned about and trying to make sure that everyone is on the same page. There's lots of miscommunication with ministry matters. Parents feel like they don't understand what's going on. The social workers have inaccurate information, and the only way to clarify that often is to have a meeting, explain what's going on, try and be on the same page, and on the things that they can agree on, move forward in that, and if there are things that are incorrect, figuring out ways to address that, whether that be through trials or courts or whatever that is, but trying to have a good understanding of what's going on from all sides before just closing that door. So we schedule ADR, or so collaborative meetings, before scheduling court hearings. So like I was saying, I think court is an important tool for parents, but it is also important to know what the ministry is saying, right? I think sometimes you see in the trauma of having the ministry in your life, you're sort of like, thank you. We're just going to set a trial and walk away and then wait a couple months for that hearing, when often, you know what, actually there aren't 8 issues that we're in disagreement of, there's 1 or 2, and we need to focus on that, and we need to try and get kids home as soon as possible. So we also integrate the services of a lawyer and an advocate. Our advocates will assist client in engaging in community resources, and it's a client-centered team support for the client. Why early intervention? So I spoke a little bit about this. So clients are eligible for our services as soon as the child protection investigation commences. So I have a lot of clients where they've been referred to us, and the ministry is just poking around and asking questions, and the parent just wants to know what's going on, what potentially could happen, what are my options, what are my rights, what are the resources available. And that is where we ideally would get involved with parents, because then we can support them and make sure they're empowered to make the choices that are best for them and the best for their family. We also, early intervention is good because parents are getting the assistance of a lawyer and an advocate, which can greatly increases their chance to fully understand the safety concerns and meet those expectations as soon as possible. Parents do not necessarily have to be in court in order to work with our office. Like I said, as long as the ministry is involved in some way, they can qualify to work with us. And the lawyers on our staff will take responsibility to respond to court applications, and the advocate generally will assist clients in accessing those community resources and provide additional support for meetings. So we have lots of clients where they won't attend any meeting with the ministry unless our advocate is there with them, and often having another person in the room, another person taking notes, another person asking questions really changes the tone and the outcome of those meetings. So who qualifies for our services? The only requirements is that you're a parent or you're a person acting in the place of a parent. So often aunties and grandparents are the ones who are parenting our children, and we would help those people as well as moms and dads. A person also has to have a child protection concern, so the ministry has to be involved in some way, and the file must fall within Surrey Provincial Court. There are some files that might not be appropriate for our office, so some of that might be if they have a trial coming up very soon, we will give their file to a lawyer who can run that trial. Our office doesn't run trials. So if we're working with a client and they're setting trial dates, then we will transfer their file to another lawyer in the community who does legal aid work. If the client has serious or unresolved criminal allegations against them, that may also not be a good file for us. If those allegations are in regards to their children, because someone with a criminal law background is a better suited fit for them. And then if the client has a pre-existing family law file where they're working with a lawyer for that, it may be best for that lawyer to also do their child protection matter, but that's up to the parent too. But I think having, as you know, a lot of our clients have a lot of resources that they're accessing, so giving them another person to contact isn't always the best. Trying to streamline that can be a better fit. So our office has been open for just over a year and a little bit. And the Vancouver office was the first PLC, and they have done a lot of work on figuring out what has been the impacts of their work and how this model is helpful or is a good resource for parents, which is why it's been expanded. So some of those benefits have been, they've seen faster resolution of child protection matters. There's been a focus on parents being more well supported in addressing their and the safety concerns. There's a lot of focus on things that are on giving services that are culturally appropriate in ways that are meeting clients where they're at, whether that be from an Indigenous perspective or from an anti-oppressive lens or just from client-centered and client strength-based. So that's really important to how we view our work and how we walk beside our clients. And I think it's helped enhance the quality control and consistency of the services legal aid has provided for child protection matters. And a lot of our clients have felt like they have more trust in the court process as well as the ministry process, knowing that they have these supports around them from an early stage. So, application to immigration and settlement work. Again, we can help your clients at any stage when they have a ministry matter. Immigration status in and of itself is not a grounds to remove children, but we see a lot of families where that is integrated into where the safety concerns are and why the ministry is poking around. So it's always helpful from our experience to be involved with those cases as early as possible, getting them connected to an immigration lawyer, getting them connected to the services that they need. We work in tandem with immigration lawyers. We work in tandem with a lot of community organizations that exist in the Surrey-Langley area. And we have a good relationship with a lot of translation services, so that's not a barrier for us to help any clients. We can additionally provide workshops or presentations to your staff if you work with child protection law and you're confused, or be helpful for you to have a better understanding. We're happy to do that. You can also do, like I mentioned, outreach clinics with your clients. So if you know you have a bunch of clients that might benefit to meeting with us, rather than having them all come to our office, contact us and we can arrange a time where we can come to you, we can see who we can help, and then help triage them and point them in the right direction moving forward for their child protection matter. So I think that's it. That's our address. It's right on King George and 72nd by the Newton bus loop. And that's our phone number. Again, there's a bunch of cards in the back. And if you also call legal aid in general, they can point it to us. And there's on the website. Thanks.
My name is Taruna Agrawal. I'm here from the Rise Women's Center. How many of you have never heard about us? Okay, that's not as many people as I thought. Okay, I can work with this. We are, as our name tells you, we're a women's legal center. We have only been around for 3 years. I've only been around at Rise for about a month. Our role is to assist women who do not have lawyers. We're a UBC-affiliated clinic. Part of our funding comes from Law Foundation. Veenu mentioned this earlier. We've got 6 students, 1 articling student. At the moment, we've got 2 articling students, 3 full-time lawyers, one of whom is our executive director, Kim. Vandana Sood, who supervises the students. Vicky Law, who's our part-time virtual legal clinic lawyer. I'll get into what she does, but it's really important to know she's part-time, so there's a bit of a wait list for her program. And then I'm the family advocate support line lawyer. I'll just call myself FASL. It's easier. My role is to help frontline workers, settlement workers, family law advocates, Law Foundation funded or not, to help them work with their clients. So all of you could call me with any legal questions. Now, family law related, so of course there are intersections with other areas of law. And if I can help you, I will help you. And if not, then I can refer you to Alison Ward, who does poverty law. Either way, I think the organization is a good resource if you're working with women and you're stuck on an issue. RISE can likely help. Here is a list of our lawyers. So our focus is what does a woman actually need, and not just to address her legal issues. So when a woman calls for an intake, our intake worker, Andrea, she'll talk about everything. Maybe the answer is to help them get legal aid. Maybe they were rejected for legal aid, so the solution is to appeal that. Maybe somebody needs help with a very nuanced issue. Like we had somebody call who was self-representing, but there was this one piece of evidence and she had to make submissions that this is in fact admissible. And there's too much legalese for somebody, even if they're running a trial, to navigate at times. And we had a student write submission on that one particular topic. Students can also take on files represented in limited capacities. So when they first meet with a client, they'll sit down, do an intake, and part of that process is to determine what we can and cannot help with. And then they draft up a retainer that details all the things we're able to do. And students can go to court for provincial court. We don't do Supreme Court applications, but they can do submissions and things for Supreme Court. So if you're working with a client, she's not eligible for legal aid, and doesn't have a lawyer, so the in-between, call us. And Andrea, who's our intake coordinator, was an advocate for 11 years before this. We've all been advocates, Vicky and I also. So we're familiar with the community resources and can likely refer you elsewhere if we're not able to help. We also have summary legal advice. So we have volunteer lawyers. Access Pro Bono does a lot of this. We just do this in a very limited capacity. We've got family law lawyers and immigration lawyers who volunteer with us. So if a woman just needs a half an hour of advice or an hour of advice, that's really helpful. Where we also use lawyers is if the intake person is not a lawyer. So sometimes she'll get them to see a volunteer lawyer to make sure that there is in fact a case for a humanitarian application. And then we sort of use that advice to guide the legal aid application. So there are various things that we're able to do, even if we aren't sure that, even if you're not sure that this is in fact a humanitarian application, we can get the client to meet with a lawyer and go from there. We have student clinics, like I said. They do family law, they do immigration applications. This is all done under the supervision of a lawyer. So nothing leaves the office without a lawyer reviewing it. And our students are very capable. They're very good, they're determined, they're passionate, and they're compassionate, they're talented, they're amazing. We have an amazing cohort of students. We do CFCSA files, so if the ministry's involved, our students are able to help with that. We have a lawyer who volunteers with us and does wills and estates files. So each student, I believe, only takes on one wills file. So there is a bit of a wait list. But if women aren't able to pay for a lawyer, then call and get them on our wait list. We will eventually call them. We provide unbundled legal services, and these are limited scope retainers. So we'll do legal advice. Students will do negotiations on the client's behalf. We also coach women. They can prepare the script of what the woman can say when she gets to court. So these can be things like an adjournment application, child support, all these things. We're able to draft the submissions. They can do hearings in provincial court that are less than 1 day. We can do protection orders, asset restraints, case conferences. Students are able to represent clients at family case conferences. We have a virtual legal clinic. So we've got one part-time lawyer and other lawyers who volunteer with us who can speak with women over the telephone, and women can be all around BC on issues of family, immigration, refugee law, or criminal law. And the piece that's important for criminal law is that the woman could be a victim or the perpetrator of the file, and that's perfectly fine. The lawyer will speak to them and tell them about their rights over the telephone. The woman and her court case must be outside the area of Whistler and Chilliwack. One thing we do ask is that if a woman's contacting us through VLC, that she be affiliated with a community organization. And there are several reasons for this. It's that we have a place to send faxes or emails, because the woman's partner may have access to her email account, or she may not have a place to print things. And the program didn't start out like this. Initially, we were just helping women who were on their own, but people dropped through the cracks. And given that there's such limited hours to begin with, pairing them up with a social worker or a community worker just makes matters proceed so much smoothly, where, we can only do so much, but then you make sure that the woman doesn't slip through the cracks. So that's really valuable. And we cannot assist with matters outside of BC. We're lawyers in BC. We don't really know anything that happens outside of our little bubble. But in BC, we can do. We can do summary advice, we can help with drafting documents, legal coaching for self-represented women. Like I said, they must be connected to an organization. And we started doing webinars as of last week. We've got one this week and one in 2 weeks on Friday, and I think we'll continue. We're using Zoom, and they use video conferencing software. Their communications are encrypted. They've got all these advanced security features. And then there's my program. It started exactly a month ago. The Family Advocate Support Line Lawyer. I don't have a telephone number yet, but my my email address is at the end. So like I said, when you're working with a client and you're stuck on an issue, you can email me, you can call me. You don't have to feel guilty about it. My entire job is to do this with you. And then I can even, depending on time constraints, I can look at forms with you. I can tell you, basically you've got a lawyer to call. I'll stop elaborating on that. I can also provide training to you in your organization. So if you find certain questions come up all the time, or you were initially hired to be a victim service worker and you don't quite know how family law works, and you don't know the difference between just basic vocabulary of the Divorce Act and Family Law Act, I'm happy to come in and provide training to your organization, and I'll have a conversation with you, and I'll tailor the training to you, so then your questions can be answered. I can also do this via webinars, so for those of you who aren't in the Lower Mainland, I'm happy to do a Zoom conference. We also have social work practicum students who help with intake, who can help the woman apply for income assistance, complete family maintenance enforcement program forms. They also help with adjournment scripts. We've got enough people that we can sort of find a way to work with whatever your needs are and whatever the client's needs are. Those are our names and email addresses. We're also all very Googleable. So if you Google Rise Women's Center Facile Lawyer, I'll be there. And like I said, I'm happy to answer any questions. Okay. That's everything. Thank you.
My name is Lali Pawa. I am the program lead for the Justice Education Society for many of our BC programs. I see a lot of familiar faces, but I also see a lot of new faces, so nice to see you all again. Our mandate for the society is improving the legal capability of British Columbians. So where focus is legal education, and for some of you that know, our head office is in Vancouver, but we operate in many of the courthouses throughout the province. I'm based at the Surrey Provincial Court, and we have staff in Kelowna and Victoria and Prince George, and also at the 2 Vancouver locations. I primarily just want to talk to you about one of our programs that probably is the most useful for this group that we have in this room right now, and that is the Court Information Program for Immigrants. This program has been in existence for almost 30 years, and we have currently staff in Surrey and in Vancouver. My colleagues are in the room. I have Nilu Kang. Nilu, can you just raise your hand? And Bernice Ma. Bernice is based out of the Vancouver Provincial Courthouse, and she serves new immigrants that speak Cantonese and Mandarin on any court-related matter. So we'll be able to provide information in those languages by phone or via email in Cantonese and Mandarin and in English. Nilu is based out of the Surrey Provincial Court, and she provides service in Punjabi, Hindi, and Urdu. Again, they provide legal information, legal education, not legal advice, but they can help navigate immigrants to the court, throughout the court system, do some court accompaniment, and even help with some assisting in filling out forms. So if you haven't utilized our service before, please make sure you connect with them. They are here throughout the conference. Do want to mention that JES produces hundreds of help guides and worksheets and resources. Please go to our website so you can connect with those. And again, we use Google Translate to almost in any single language. And the court information, great videos, and again, in different languages that you can help with your clients. Resources, worksheets that you could use. We also, I do need to mention about our Ask Jess service. This is every day between 11 to 2, Monday through Friday, where we use the assistance of UBC law students as well, that if you put in a question online or on our chat, that somebody will respond to you at that time. If you need assistance in a different language, we can also be able to if you can communicate that through our 1-800 number or online, we can also connect you to someone that can help speak that language. I encourage even all of you, if you have a question, just throw it in online on the chat, and we can actually respond to you. So the service is great, and we in all different types of areas. We find youth are actually even now using it. We have high school students asking questions about their legal rights and responsibilities. So it is anonymous, and it's quick, and it is available 11 to 2 every day. This is one of our Legal Rights for Youth websites, very popular, and has great information of age-based legal rights. I think we already spoke about Renting It Right with Track. That's one of our collaborations. Another good website, How to Separate. People that are just going through that procedure right now and they want to be able to just have a little bit of a good starting point. And Small Claims BC, civil matters, so anything to do with any matter, we can, probably goes through the Justice Education website. About multilingual help is where I wanted to go. This is the program, the Court Information Program for Immigrants. Now, the website just for this program is courtinformation.ca. This website is also translated in Chinese, Punjabi, Korean, and English. So each of the tabs are translated, and it focuses on criminal law, on family, domestic violence, small claims, and it gives basic information that a client would need to know. So I do encourage you, each of you, to go to that website and learn that basic information. We also go out to the community and do legal education workshops. We partner with a lot of the agencies. Right now I'm doing a series of legal education workshops with diversity for a Chinese-speaking group, and they with a lot of different topics. So if you have some interest of hosting a workshop or for us to come to your agency or for you to come and attend the courthouse, we have half-day sessions or full-day sessions that you could come as staff, like maybe your settlement department would like to come, or settlement with your clients would like to spend some time and experience court in BC. Those are opportunities that we can also do as well. And I'm going to wrap this up. So that is me again. I'm Lali Pawa, and my phone number and email is there. Thank you so much.